So here we are tackling Salem Tovar's video. Now, typically when I do a response video, I usually kind of go piece by piece, but to be fair, there are main ideas I can kind of tackle this go round, so I'm not going to go through her obviously hour-long presentation piece by piece. Most of the reason why I go through them piece by piece is to be intellectually honest about it and respond in real time to each point, so there's no like degree of manipulation. But obviously that just kind of can't functionally be done in any realistically time-consuming manner that wouldn't be like a 2-hour-long presentation. And man, I ain't doing all that editing, nigga. I'm just gonna be real with you. But more than that, I think it might be better to kind of tackle the main ideas mostly in isolation anyway, allowing the supporting information she provides to bolster her point so we have a greater understanding of it before I tackle it, than going piece by piece anyway, because there are lots of like little jokes that she makes in her video anyway that, you know, I personally didn't even think was funny, so I doubt any response it would give you anything in a response format as well. So the first main idea that I'm going to tackle is the idea that is actually not so subtle. If I can find it, I'll put it in here. Not So Erudite also made a similar point some time ago that I wanted to address and tackle as well. And this idea is the idea of the hidden man in your friend group, the hidden master of abuse. Imagine I have a cape. The hidden master, he who abuses the females in his wake. You are friends with him. He is among you. Of course, you do not know of his abusive desires towards the female sex, because he's your buddy, he's your pal, he's your friend. But truly, he is a monster who seeks only rich, emotional destruction upon the women of whom he touches. At least that's may as well how they characterize, you know, all of these different abusive, terrible men. So the Man of the Year thing happens, and I'll play you guys a little bit of Salem's dissertation here to kind of grasp what I'm going to be responding to. So here you go.
All right, let's talk about this Man of the Year trend that is currently sweeping the nation right now.
What is with this Man of the Year trend? God damn!
These men are saying the most horrendous, disgusting, threatening things to these women.
Sorry, I don't want you to block me.
I keep seeing videos of guys being like, where do you find these men? They are literally your friends.
Were ridiculous, crying on the phone, saying, I want you back and stuff.
Rose, please answer. I seriously didn't fucking do anything.
Bro, why did he moan though? It was kind of scary to see how quick the trend then evolved into something far more dark, where there were videos and audio records, messages of these girls' exes admitting to straight up crimes, videos of just straight up domestic abuse.
So if you want to jump off of a bridge and you want to use me as an excuse to jump off of a bridge, then you should do that.
And even rape of other women.
But you didn't mean what?
What do you think?
The 3 times?
No, after that, when did it happen again?
That it's just so disheartening, soul destroying, and so just disturbing.
Because you, is it because you're a failure? You know you're a failure. Everything that's wrong with you when you leave is still gonna be wrong with you. Honestly,
I'm not trying to attack
but I am attacking you right now because you're stealing my things.
Man of the Year TikTok trend.
Our sex doesn't ever last more than 15 minutes anyway.
Who knew that Gen Z dating was so bad to the point where a whole TikTok trend is literally exposing the worst exes I have ever seen in my life? Like, genuinely, it has me wanting to find these people for you. Like, the girlies out here are struggling, like, for real.
Now this happens around, I would say, the midsection of the video, so about 30 minutes in, and she makes this point, she makes it a few times, how these guys, or how some responses to the Man of the Year thing is men kind of lamenting They don't know any nigga who operates like this.
Very much does happen. The only difference is that many times, especially when it comes to online communities with men who are motivated by, you know, belittling women and, you know, making stuff popular, such as the Woman of the Year trend, their motivation isn't to become better, to understand, or to be allies or anything like that. What's in their head is to genuinely find a way to always put the blame on a woman and to defend their homies and act shocked when those red flags turn into a whole damn blimp.
Now, to be quite honest with you, I've encountered a few males who do operate like this. They were not close friends of mine, and I despised them greatly, and obviously wish I could challenge them in a shadow game and send them to the shadow realm. And by shadow game, I mean beat the dog shit out of them. But the truth of the matter is, I actually do think that these women, Salem particularly, or a lot of ladies who agree with Salem, are being very flippant and disrespectful, and I'll explain why. There's another clip of another dude who is kind of white knighting and pandering, but we're going to play it anyway because he's one of the few good ones.
Isn't gonna help anyone want to be better and stuff, but quite frankly, if you saw that trend and if you are male presenting, whatever, you're someone who was offended by that trend, I'm sorry, but if you're offended by that trend, it's only because the shoe fits. Well, secure man who has treated women really well in their life would see that trend and respond, such as these men on TikTok.
This man of the year trend really highlights why so many men are lonely. These videos are absolutely insane. I just heard audio of a woman asking her boyfriend or husband or whatever to vacuum, to which he proceeds to throw a full-on temper tantrum. And he said that it's her fault he doesn't clean because he wanted to get a chore chart and they never did. There's only been one video out of the 1,000+ videos that I've made that I had to turn the comments off. And it was when I made my man versus bear video and was trying to explain to men why women felt that way. I just shut off the comments because so many men were threatening to grape women in the comments. And even saying that, I know a bunch of guys are going to be like, oh, you're a white knight, you're a simp. No, it's called being a decent human being.
One of the good ones seems to always just be anyone who supports the preconceived notions I already have, not someone who challenges my belief structure and asks of me to be a better human being for all of society. That's not one of the good ones. Anyhow, you can see my bitterness leaking through my commentary. The problem here is, one, you have to be really, it's hilarious, believe all women but not believe all men, I guess. Which you have to just flippantly not believe a male when he says he does not spend time with men like this, or that he's not friends with men of disregard, men of ill repute. That's all that really is. You just don't believe them. And to be honest with you, if you wish to operate with just complete skepticism and disregard, and you just want to project that this man is friends with people like this, well, really that ends the conversation. And what you're really asking for is just the destruction of humanity, because there's no way to solve this problem. You have no faith, you have no compassion, you have no trust. Game over. It's over, right? There's really nothing else to talk about, because honestly, the idea that men are just cruel, nasty, abusive creatures who just wish to harm women and use and abuse them, there's actually nothing new about it, which is why I find it very fascinating when Men of the Year exist as a form of like public service to like show other females the toxicity that exists. But really it just traumatizes people by proxy. It traumatizes people into thinking this is more ubiquitous than what it is. And I'll explain why this is not as ubiquitous as people seem just in a moment. But honestly, it's like, if your first reflection or your first belief structure, honestly, it's just that like, you don't care to believe men when they say, we don't spend time with people like this, then you just don't trust us. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's kind of just the end of it all. Honestly, you should leave men alone. I'm not even someone who believes you should be in a relationship, you should reproduce. I'm going to be honest with you. You should decenter men. Leave men alone. If you can't accept that, leave men alone. It's just over. And you should just accept that it's over. And you want to know something? Nobody lost anything. Now look, listen. The reason why I say all of this is not because I truly desire for you to end the human experiment due to your fear and paranoia. The reason why I say all of this is to challenge the idea that we believe on women. As such, you ask for something that you will not give. You ask for males to believe you and to accept your stories, and yet you refuse to believe and accept male stories. You ask for something that you refuse to reciprocate. As such, it does need to be challenged, because it's actually quite consistent that the males who will operate in such nasty, dysfunctional ways, one, aren't the friends of most men in general, and two, probably, let's just be real, didn't start out that way to begin with. And through numerous different relationship problems and toxic elements that happen between the two people present, which is what usually happens actually, he became someone that was a former shell of himself, and he became someone who was fractured and mentally distraught and damaged. Much in the same way, if you're a young lady watching this, you'll notice that is how typically TikTok disorientates the way women come to their relationships with men. They started out one way, they had a relationship with a bad man, now they're a damaged, fractured woman that doesn't like men. Why would you think that the same thing could not occur to males? Why do you think that the two people who are in that relationship don't both come out of it traumatized and frustrated and annoyed? Which is something to be considered. Now, here's the most important thing. Well, there's two really important things. Important thing number one, the idea that males take accountability after hearing that some other males were abusive is ridiculous. Salem says this a couple of times actually, right?
Trend isn't about hating men, it's just about realizing that a lot of men hate being held accountable. Women finally air out their worst experiences they've had with men, and instead of taking accountability, some guys hijack the trend and make it about their struggles.
And again, it's absolutely absurd. It's absurd because you can't hold people accountable for things they didn't do. Doesn't make any sense. You can't hold me accountable for attacking and destroying a Balrog that was actually in service of the Great One, Kalala, who was actually trying to save humanity by making sure he destroyed the Chosen One, and then I interrupted that process, so now me and Kalala have to work together. You can't blame me for that, because that didn't fucking happen! It's just some shit I made up. It's just a bunch of nonsense. You can't be mad at me for something I didn't do. So it isn't to say that you haven't had a bad relationship. And I always want to give acknowledgement and understanding that I believe that if you say that you were in a toxic relationship with a male, I believe you. I'm not even going to argue differently that it occurred. What I will challenge is, well, how the flip did you guys get to this point? Which I think is an interesting question. Is it victim blaming? It might be in some areas. Or is it me understanding what the flip happened? To be quite honest with you, if you really didn't do anything wrong and you were not a participant in the toxic dynamics of this relationship, then you can just explain that. And you did everything right and nothing bad occurred and he just is a demon. Maybe that's the case. But more honestly, it probably is the two people are nipping at each other and making each other's lives worse, because that's typically how it flipping goes. Let's be real. It's important to note that not just because, again, we're supposed to just take responsibility for things. Let's just stop right there. I'm sorry. I was going to go move to a different point. If I stay on this one point, that relationship is what happened between you and Joseph, whoever this nigga was. If Joseph cheated on you, I'm not Joseph. I didn't cheat on you. I can't take accountability for that. If Jonathan yelled at you, if Austin was just rude and nasty and mean and just abused you and said you're nothing and you'll never find another man like him and you suck and you're terrible and you make everything worse, I didn't say it. I can't take accountability for Austin. I'm not that nigga Austin. I can't do that. And it's absurd to take the problems or take whatever issues someone else did and then tell the whole group that they need to change and be different and metamorphosize and be better. Why? One, because you're asking them to pay a price that for a product they didn't buy. They have to suffer the consequences and change when they didn't do something. 2, because they didn't do the thing, they can't change. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to do different. They can't be different from something they didn't do. That's just logical. What you're asking for is absurd. What you're asking for is functionally dysfunctional and illogical. If one guy did something, but the other guy didn't do it, he can't change. There's nothing to change. He can't metamorphosize. He didn't do the angry, bad, mean thing. He didn't insult you. He didn't cheat you. He can't change his character because there's nothing to change. He didn't do the thing. You have to understand that you are addressing the whole group of people who are actually probably already on your side to begin with. So your message is like, it's not even preaching to the choir, it's preaching to the grass. It's preaching to the lawn. You don't even have an audience. They're not even there. They're ghosts. I don't know. Which leads us to the third thing. The third thing, and what I think is the most important thing, is in the title, which she might change the title, because I've seen YouTubers change the titles of the video, you know, I guess to just pump it back out to the algorithm, I don't know. But in the title of the video, Salem says that men of the year, these abusive, terrible males, and I think the other dude as well, if I played his clip correctly, says that this is the reason why men are lonely. Men are lonely because they're toxic and abusive and they're cheaters.
Man of the year trend really highlights why so many men are lonely. These videos are absolutely insane. I just heard audio of a woman asking her boyfriend or husband or whatever to vacuum, to which he...
And I'm going to be really honest with you. That has to be the dumbest take I've ever heard in my life. People try to find so many reasons to justify, to make it just that males are alone. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of evil that rules over the world, and this is a great example of that evil that rules over the world. You guys think I'm bugging. You guys think I'm crazy, except I'm not. If you listen, if you pay attention, you'll realize that it's right in your face the whole time. Think critically for a moment. Just for one moment. We're going to use our brains. Okay? Whew. Now that our brains have been engaged, my friends, if most of these men of the year are ex-boyfriends, then evidently they were in relationships. Ergo, they are not lonely single men. Almighty. Almighty. Dios míos. Ay, no. Wait, come on, right? If these are ex-boyfriends, what more needs to be said? This is how dumb, this is how illogical, this is how hard you have to not think to get to this point of having males be all accountable and stupid and whatnot, and just nonsensical. If the males who are lonely are not in relationships, then they can't be the men of the years because they're the ones who are in relationships. Dumbass, stupid, moron, idiot. So asinine. But what's worse than that? Let me tell you something what's worse than that. What's really worse than that, I'm going to be honest with you guys, is when you really just start thinking harder and harder and more, right? Not only is it that these are the males who seem to have some degree of success with relationships, a la they're cheaters, so they're getting multiple women. They are in long-term relationships, so they've been with the woman for 4.5 years, 3 years, 2 years. Okay, so they're long-term engagements. So they clearly can't be a part of the male loneliness epidemic of niggas who are not in relationships at all. It's not just that. But there's something else that's stupider about this. And that's when we go back to the earlier point. And that earlier point is that there's this belief structure that males are friends with these guys. That males, they break bread with them. These are your friends. They're hiding in the shadows. And I have to tell you, I'm going to be dead ass with you. That's just not true. It's not true. I know it's not true. You say, how do you know it's not true? I'm going to tell you exactly how I know it's not true. It's not true that males really do just... First of all, it's not true that my friends are like that. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, sirs, you're not with your friends when they talk to the girls. I say, no, nigga. My friends aren't like that. Vast majority of my friends throughout my life were not like that. I have been friends with a couple of Chads who were like that, but they were the minority. That's the thing. They were the minority of all my friends, the ones who were flippant and had disregard for women, and I called these niggas out when I saw it. I was that nigga, by the way. I was that nice guy. I was that guy you feminists asked for. The nigga who called them out, that was me. So, now that you know I was him, I was said white knight. I gotta tell you, it still wasn't most of my friends. And again, I understand what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, well, how do you know? How do you know? You weren't there. You didn't read the text messages these guys send these girls. You don't know their relationships. You don't know. And I say, listen, I know. I know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, most males, you wanna know how I know most males are not this man of the year, awful, abusive dude? I'll tell you how I know. I'll tell you how. Are you ready? I'm gonna tell you. It's a little well-known secret. The way that I know you guys think I'm BS. I'm not BSing. Listen. And again, I hear it. I can hear the feminists. I hear them. It's ringing in my ear. You're not there when they talk to women, Zers. They say, you don't know what they're texting them. And I say, they've never had sex! They're virgins! They've never been touched by a female! I weep for their sake. I weep for them. They've never been held. They've never been touched. They've never. Listen, joking aside, kidding aside, they're virgins. They've never had a relationship to be that man. You see, my friends, in your rage, in your disdain, in your disregard of males, you have completely forgotten. Now, I don't know, are the incels just truly correct about the fact that unattractive men are invisible? You guys do a good job of proving them right on that regard. You guys seem to forget that there's a group of men who just don't get to talk to women. They don't get to interact with women. Whether it's because they're shy, autistic, ugly, even just don't care. A la MGTOW in the manosphere, you know. You guys forget that there's a group of men, large amounts of them, that are disregarded. They are MSTOW, sent their own way. Men sent their own way. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. MSTOW is far more accurate. MSTOW is far more accurate than incel, and it makes me so sad that they came up with MSTOW and they don't use it. They prefer incel, but incel is so stupid. Incel is such a stupid word, and I'm contractually obligated to always explain that one cannot be voluntarily abstaining from sex. It's nonsensical. But MSTOW, man sent his own way. That's accurate. Women say we don't want you. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna lock back in. Hold on. Okay, I'm done. I just find it very humorous. I find the accuracy far more humorous than there's a word for this. Damn, I forget the word. But anyway, I digress. So, now that I've calmed down, we're going to push that pejorative to the wayside for a moment and actually wrap up this video. It is important to note that, again, when it comes to the male loneliness epidemic, which I think is a misnomer, it really would just be humanity's lonely epidemic, as males are one half of the human species. So it would ipso facto leave women lonely as well, but I digress. Regardless, when you factor that in, most people use that as a tool of manipulation or as a way to disparage men, to besmirch them ever more, and to put them down and to make them look pathetic and destructive and horrible. They try to give reason as to why they are alone, completely ignoring that, again, all of those men who would be men of the year were not alone. That's how stupid this is. But of course, in their brains, they're trying to make something just that is not just. It's just evil. Evil reigns. Evil reigns supremely here. A lot of ladies allow evil to reign. Notice that all of those women knew these men were terrible people, and they stayed. Now, we can call them victims all we want. We can have grace for them and say they were forced or they were compelled, they had lost their agency. The fact remains that the women who are closest to these men are the ones that have the greatest ability to do anything about them. The men who are not close to these men can't. And I'm not saying this because I truly believe, well, she picked them, because, well, she did. And I say that with intent, like she picked them. It's important to note that as a lady, a vampire cannot hurt you unless you invite them in. Now, we can rage at the machine of how awful vampires are. Vampires are so strong. They are. Vampires, they have the power of compulsion. Yeah, they do. Vampires, they heal from everything but a stake to the heart. That's true. Vampires are super fast. Yeah, they are. Yeah, vampires are an oppressive force. But the truth of the matter is if you only go out during the sunlight, a vampire cannot hurt you. If you don't let the right one in. See if you guys get that reference. It can't hurt you. Truth is that the person that is in the best position to destroy these abusive men are the women they pick. Because people outside of that cannot interact or interface with what's going on. Males can't stop that. Even if we outwardly and clearly say we don't like this stuff, which of course then you will acknowledge that these men don't tell their friends that they're awful and terrible people. Yeah, obviously, because you would look terrible if you did. Excuse me. The only people who can really combat this, talk about this, or express this are the women that are in said relationship. No one outside of that can do anything. Part of doing something about that is just leaving the relationship. Part of that might be even trying to figure out, why is the relationship operating like this? Psychoanalyze the problems. Try to figure out solutions. Try to figure out, why is this man operating this way? What happened? Talk to this motherfucker. God damn! Something. Are some of these men truly vile monsters who've only wished your misery and suffering? Sure. Right? Yeah, some of these niggas are. But some of them aren't. Some of them are responding and are participants in a toxic, nasty environment that you are also a part of. Which isn't to say that you always court violence. I don't believe that for a second. So listen clearly. Listen to me. Heed me well. I'm not saying that every ass whooping you get just, it's just could have been avoided. Some of these men are demons. That's true. Some of them are. Some of these men, they're vampires. They're great, wonderful manipulators. Master classes of evil. Truth be told, either way it goes, you're the protagonist. You're the one that has to face the villain. I'm not there. I don't know this nigga. I've never met this nigga. I can't stop him. You can. The idea that you put that on men is absurd. We can't do anything. Whether he's physically abusing you, mentally or emotionally abusing you, no one outside of that can do anything, even if we want to. And most men want to, but we can't because we don't know, because we're not there, because it happens when we're not there. You have to at some point acknowledge your agency and power to disengage, call the police, learn hand-to-hand combat, buy a gun, or just straight up leave this nigga at the wayside. Because honestly, fuck him. See how easy it is for me to say that? If a man is awful and terrible and toxic and giving you a hard time, fuck him. You see, easy. I'm not defending these niggas. What I am defending is all the other men who can't solve that problem. All the other men who've never been touched by a woman, never been held by a woman, never been kissed, never had sex, never been told they were loved by a woman. Those men can't do anything. So constantly asking all of us to have accountability for something we didn't do will never solve that problem. Truth be told, fuck all these toxic men. I've said this many times. Give me the Infinity Gauntlet. With impunity, with glee, I would snap my fingers and get rid of all of those men. And I said I would snap my finger and I would not allow them to disappear in blissful dust. Nay, they will burn. They will burn into a pile of salt and will blow away into the ether if I had the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't give a shit about these men. Fuck them. But I can't stop them either. You can. So you can't keep putting this Man of the Year thing and then splashing this all on to a bunch of other men who didn't do anything wrong. It's not about not all men. It's about they can't do anything if they don't know and they're not there. And if this is all subterfuge and this is all a bunch of villainy and this is all people done in the dark, you're the one with the flashlight. You're the one with the ability to bring it to the light. We can't help you if you don't help yourself. So that being said, I certainly hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, I don't know, man, go and click the like button. Shoot, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Comment in the comments below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon.